I've been playing around with GPT 5.5 and Opus 4.7 and comparing them for the last 24 hours. They have great capabilities, but also you are going to see the difference between both of these models in the time it takes to build them and also the quality of output. So we're going to put both of them to the test, and let's get started with some real world tasks. So the first task that I gave them was to recreate this image, and you can see this is a landing page style image that I wanted them to see how much they come close to. This is the output from Opus 4.7, and you can look at it like, this is kind of like pixel perfect image as we needed. Again, the colors are a bit off. The black chosen here is not the same as I would want the black to be as the image, but again we can live with it. But let's see and look at the response from GPT 5.5, and you can see here very simply the model actually presents a decent product, but also not very similar to the image itself, because here is the actual image that we gave it and here is the output that we got. And if you want to compare them side by side, you can see the output from GPT 5.5 is not that great compared to Claude. So at least for this one, except this beautiful animation that it built, the kind of output that you would want if you're trying to recreate a design is something that probably Opus stands out at here also. But let's look at task number 2, where I want to kind of, you can say, take the stakes a bit higher. In this task, you can see this is a beautiful image, kind of a landing page for an AI engineer. But if you look at it very simply, it's super difficult to recreate if you're not using real images, because everything that you see within the tech stack, the projects, the icons are super difficult to recreate. And that's where I wanted to put it to test on how does the output look like from a perspective of GPT 5.5 and Opus, because both of them claim a pretty high coding bench score. And you can see Opus is kind of like head to head in the SWE benchmark, but on the other benchmarks, it's scoring GPT 5.5 scores better. But let's look at the output and judge for it, right? So this was the image that we wanted it to create, and here are how the outputs look. And here is the output from GPT, and you can see it's pretty cool. Like, again, nothing bad. Like, again, it has a decent redirection. The icons are the best that you can kind of see from perspective of SVGs and something like that. So it tried its best, kind of pretty cool. Like, again, the try is pretty good, and this is what you want to think about when you're trying to judge something, right? Again, you're not trying for an exact output when you're trying to judge the model. You're trying to see how close it is trying to get to this point with the limited resources it had. So obviously, if you compare them apples to apples, this is nowhere close to what the image looks like, but also that it's not possible to actually recreate the image without using images or something else, right? Without using 3D avatars, which I asked it to do. So it did its job in the best way possible. So GPT 5.5, I will say, on a matching score of the image would probably be like around 2.5 or 3, given the restrictions that it had. Now let's look at the same output, but for Opus 4.7. Okay, you can see this is the output from Opus 4.7, and you can see the quality of the output is not up to the mark. Let me just again show you that again, it tried to create the icons, but wasn't really successful at it, and also just again tried its best, but probably did not get in there. But compare this to on the left hand side to the GPT 5.5 model, at least the quality of effort is much higher, the quality of trial of the different icons is much higher, and you can see again that compared to again, if you had to submit a draft and this was the only model that you had with you and you had to choose between one of them, I would technically choose GPT 5.5 any day, and that is a very, very true reality here. But also at the same time, I need to mention that very simply, GPT 5.5 worked for around 8 minutes compared to Opus working for roughly around 3 minutes or less. So just to show you this, I used Claude Code for this and also Opus. And I use Claude Code for this in Opus, and also at the same time, again, I used Codex here, which technically again, you can see worked for 8 minutes here, and again, ran a lot longer compared to the output that we got from Opus. So compared to the effort put in, 100%, it looks better with 5.5, but also at the same time, again, I did not give it any restriction. The prompts were same, and they had full complete access to an empty repo to get this done. So with that, we technically believe again, from a benchmark perspective, they both are head to head, because in some tasks you see that Opus is better compared to GPT 5.5. Now at the same time, there are also other tasks that they have compared against, which is GPT 5.5 kind of scoring a bit higher in office tasks and also in GPT eval. But on the finance side of things, Opus is still leading probably at more complex tasks and everything else. Computer vision, again, it's probably I did not expect any changes here and we don't see any changes. Tool use also probably pretty close to each other. I know the difference is 4%, but right now 4% on both of these tools is okay-ish, because both of them will actually fail into issues slowly, and some places they might just work better. Depends on again where they are. Now, academic exams, you can see GPT 5.5 scores higher in math here, but when you go to other again very simply other exams, it's not able to kind of beat Opus, but also not by a major chunk, except in this one. And GPQA is pretty much solved. They have a less than a percentage difference. Cybersecurity, which is something that I believe GPT 5.5 really wanted to put out compared to at least Opus, because Opus already has Mythos, which we don't know about right now, and you can see technically 5.5 wins there. I think the quality of output also probably on 5.5 with the extra high reasoning effort, right, again, is higher, but also takes more time, but that's okay. But the quality of output is there. Now, to actually test them against each other, I asked them to create a game, and again here roughly again they both ran for Opus ran for around 4.5 minutes and GPT 5.5 ran for 8 minutes, and I'm going to show you both of their output. So let me just again, let's go back and load the game. Okay, let's look at an output from the game option what GPT 5.5 gave, and you can see again it has a pretty good again option. You even have a mini map at the top, and I'm not able to win at this game because I'm pretty bad at games here. But the idea again that it is able to have a mini map and everything else, and have different waves coming in is pretty cool. And you can see again I will probably lose this game very quickly, and as soon as it's done, it shows up a game on the right hand side, which is pretty good compared to what we are able to get in a single prompt. Now, this was a pretty cool output. Let me actually show you what also Opus came up with. But this is what Opus created, and honestly this is not a good game compared to what we got from GPT 5.5. This is pretty simple. I'm not able to even see an alien. Okay, there is one, but compared to the quality that we got from GPT 5.5 is not that great. I can say again after seeing this game, and I'm not going to try to replay it, after seeing this game, that technically again I think at least on complex coding tasks right now in real world outputs, 5.5 kind of wins this by a margin. And even if the benchmarks are different, or again you have we have this actual difference in the benchmark, I think that is coming out. We will see how we progress and how other people tested across different sectors. But right now, I think GPT 5.5, at least on the complex tasks with simple prompts, was able to perform much more higher. Maybe Opus still has a place with again much specific instructions, but right now from a model perspective, GPT kind of feels to be winning. But again, that feels based on the outputs, right? Again, we'll see on how it goes. And also the cost price of the tokens on GPT 5.5 is higher, but that's for another discussion. Now, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. It helps me out a lot. And if you want to keep learning more, hit the subscribe button. And we also have a free newsletter that's going to be available now in the description. Go ahead and check it out if you want to keep learning about these new updates right when they land. Till then, I'll see you in the next one.